20 years of marriage, and this is what I get. I stared at the world's greatest loser greeting card sitting next to my plate at Romano's Steakhouse, the most expensive restaurant in our small Pennsylvania town. Around the table, my wife Samantha's family erupted in laughter as I read the coupon book they'd given me. 50% off at Dollar General. Buy one, get one free hot dogs. And my personal favorite, free consultation at the unemployment office. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, and tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. Oh, come on, Jack, my father-in-law Martin wheezed between chuckles, his Rolex catching the candlelight. It's just a joke. You know we love you. Right, love. That's why they'd just presented my wife with a brand new Mercedes C-Class and a diamond tennis bracelet, while I got gag gifts that weren't actually gag gifts. The message was crystal clear. You're the family disappointment, and we want everyone to know it. Jack's face is priceless, laughed Samantha's sister Karen, holding up her phone to record my humiliation. This is definitely going on Facebook. I looked at my wife, expecting some defense, some indication that she found this as tasteless as I did. Instead, Samantha was admiring her new bracelet, the diamonds sparkling as she turned her wrist. She looked stunning tonight in her black cocktail dress, her blonde hair perfectly styled, every inch the successful attorney she'd become. When she finally glanced at me, there was something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Pity. Aren't you going to say thank you? She asked quietly. Thank you. I set down the card, my voice carefully controlled. Thank you for what, exactly? For the thoughtful gifts, Martin interjected, his smile not reaching his eyes. We put a lot of effort into finding things that suit your current situation. Current situation. Code for the fact that my construction consulting business had been slow lately, that I drove a 10-year-old pickup truck while his daughter now had a luxury sedan. Never mind that I'd put myself through engineering school, built a decent business from nothing, and helped put Samantha through law school. Never mind that I'd been faithful, supportive, and present for 20 years while he'd cheated on his wife twice that I knew of. You know what? I stood up, tossing my napkin on the table. I think I'll skip dessert. Jack, don't be dramatic, Samantha hissed, her cheeks flushing. Sit down. People are staring. Let them stare. I pulled out my wallet and threw 2 20s on the table. That should cover my share of this delightful celebration. I walked toward the exit, my family's shocked murmurs following me. The maitre d' gave me a sympathetic nod as I passed. Even strangers could see this was a setup. The cool October air hit my face as I stepped into the parking lot. I was fumbling for my truck keys when I heard heels clicking on asphalt behind me. Jack, wait! I turned to see Samantha hurrying toward me, her new bracelet catching the streetlight. She looked beautiful and cold, like an ice sculpture. What the hell was that? She demanded. That? That was me realizing I've been the punchline to a joke I didn't know I was part of. They were just having fun. You're being oversensitive. Fun? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Your family just spent more on your car than I made last quarter, then handed me coupons like I'm some charity case, and you sat there, smiling. The car is for work. You know how important image is in my profession. Right. Image quote. I studied her face in the dim light. Speaking of image, congratulations on making partner. I'm sure you earned it. Something flickered in her expression. Guilt? Fear? What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, just that I hope the backseat of your new Mercedes is as comfortable as your office couch. The words hung between us like a challenge. I'd thrown them out as a bitter joke, but the way her face went pale told me I'd hit closer to the truth than I'd intended. You're drunk, she said finally. I wish I were. I clicked my truck remote, and the old Ford beeped to life. I'm going home. Enjoy your celebration. Jack, please. Let's just go back inside and... Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it reflexively, and I caught a glimpse of the screen. The message was from someone named Derek, and it included a cocktail glass emoji. Her face went even paler. Who's Derek? I asked. Nobody. Just work stuff. She shoved the phone in her purse, but her hands were shaking slightly. Derek. I knew that name. Derek Morrison, her law partner, the golden boy of Henderson, Morrison, and Associates. Married, 2 kids, drives a BMW, and apparently sends my wife late-night texts with drink emojis. Work stuff, I repeated. Right. I got in my truck and drove away, leaving her standing in the parking lot. In my rearview mirror, I watched her pull out her phone again. The 15-minute drive home gave me time to think. 20 years of marriage, and I was just now seeing the signs that had probably been there for months. The late nights at the office, the new clothes, the expensive haircuts, the sudden interest in fitness. The way she'd grown distant, distracted, like she was living in a different world. A world where I was the loser husband who embarrassed her at family dinners. Our house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. It was a modest 2-story colonial in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but well-maintained. I'd built the deck myself, renovated the kitchen, painted every room. It was a good house, a family house, but apparently not impressive enough for my wife's new life. I sat in my truck for a long time, staring at the dark windows and trying to figure out when everything had gone wrong. When had I become the man they made jokes about? When had my wife started looking at me like I was something she'd scraped off her shoe? My phone buzzed with a text from my sister Jessica. How was dinner? Did they love the anniversary surprise you planned? The anniversary surprise I'd planned, right. I'd completely forgotten about the weekend getaway I'd booked at the lake cabin. 2 nights at the place where we'd had our honeymoon, where we'd talked about growing old together, where I'd thought we were still happy. I typed back, dinner was educational. I'll call you tomorrow. Inside the house, I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and sat in my recliner, staring at the family photos on the mantel. Our wedding day, when Samantha looked at me like I was her hero. Vacations, birthdays, Christmas mornings, our daughter Emily's graduation last spring. All 3 of us smiling for the camera. Emily was a freshman at Penn State now, studying communications and posting TikTok videos that occasionally featured her cringe dad. Even my own daughter found me embarrassing. I was on my 2nd bourbon when I heard Samantha's Mercedes pull into the driveway. The front door opened quietly, like she was trying not to wake me. Jack? She called softly. In here. She appeared in the doorway, still beautiful, still cold. We need to talk. Do we? Because I think tonight was pretty clear. She sat on the edge of the couch, maintaining distance between us. My family doesn't mean anything by it. They worry about you. They worry about me? Or they worry that I'm not good enough for you anymore. That's not fair. Isn't it? I leaned forward, studying her face. When's the last time you looked at me the way you used to? When's the last time we had a real conversation that wasn't about schedules or bills or your work? We're talking now. No, we're negotiating. There's a difference. She was quiet for a long moment, twisting her new bracelet around her wrist. Things change, Jack. People grow. We're not the same people we were 20 years ago. No, we're not. 20 years ago, you wouldn't have sat there while your family humiliated me. 20 years ago, you would have been on my side. I am on your side. Are you? I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Because, according to our joint account, someone spent $800 at Victoria's Secret last month. That's interesting, considering I haven't seen any of those purchases. Her face flushed. I bought things for work. Professional clothes. Victoria's Secret makes professional clothes now? What kind of law are you practicing these days? You're being paranoid. Am I? I stood up, the bourbon making me bolder than usual. Derek Morrison. Nice guy. Married, right? Kids? The color drained from her face completely. Jack, I don't know what you think. I don't think anything yet, but I'm starting to wonder. I finished my bourbon and set the glass down with deliberate care. I'm going to bed. You can sleep in the guest room tonight. I need some space to think. Jack, please. You're overreacting to... To what? To my wife getting mysterious texts from her male colleague at 11 o'clock at night? To her family treating me like garbage while she says nothing? To 20 years of marriage apparently meaning nothing? I walked toward the stairs, then stopped. You know what the funny thing is? I actually planned a surprise for our anniversary. Booked us a weekend at the lake cabin where we honeymooned. I thought we could reconnect, remember why we fell in love. I laughed bitterly. Guess I really am the world's greatest loser. I went upstairs and locked the bedroom door behind me. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Samantha's face when I mentioned Derek's name. the way she'd gone pale and started shaking. 20 years of marriage teaches you to read your spouse's expressions, and what I'd read was guilt. By 6 a.m., I was downstairs making coffee. Samantha's purse sat on the kitchen counter where she'd left it the night before. I stared at it while the coffee brewed, having an internal debate about trust, privacy, and the difference between paranoia and intuition. Intuition won. Her phone was password protected, but I knew the code, our anniversary date. The irony wasn't lost on me. Her text messages told a story I wished I hadn't read. Derek Morrison had been texting her for weeks. The messages started professional, discussing cases and court dates, but they'd evolved into something else entirely. Lunch invitations that turned into afternoon meetings at the Marriott downtown. Compliments about her appearance, her intelligence, her ambition. And photos. Photos I definitely wasn't supposed to see. The most recent exchange was from last night. Derek: how did dinner go? Did the family love the car? Samantha: it was complicated. Jack is suspicious. Derek: about us? Samantha: about everything. We need to be more careful. Derek: or we need to stop being careful. You deserve better than this, Sam. You know that. Samantha: it's not that simple. There's a lot to consider. Derek: consider this. Life's too short to waste on people who don't appreciate what they have. I see you, Sam. I see who you really are. I set the phone down before I threw it against the wall. My hands were shaking with a combination of rage and heartbreak that I'd never experienced before. 20 years. 20 goddamn years, and this is what it came to. I heard footsteps on the stairs and quickly put the phone back in her purse. Samantha appeared in the kitchen, wearing her silk robe, her hair still perfect despite supposedly sleeping in the guest room. Morning, she said carefully, like she was testing the temperature of the water. Morning. I poured myself coffee, not offering her any. Sleep well? Not really. Jack, about last night. Last night was illuminating. I leaned against the counter, studying her face. I've been thinking about what you said. About people growing, changing. You're right. We're not the same people we were 20 years ago. Relief flickered in her eyes. I'm glad you understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. 20 years ago, you were honest. Now you're a liar and a cheat. The coffee mug slipped from her hand and shattered on the tile floor. What did you say? You heard me. How long have you been sleeping with Derek Morrison? I don't know what you're talking about. Really? Because your phone tells a different story. Nice photos, by the way. Very artistic. She looked at her purse, then back at me, her face cycling through shock, anger, and fear. You went through my phone? I went through my wife's phone, or should I say, my soon-to-be ex-wife's phone. Jack, please, let me explain. Explain what? How you've been screwing your law partner while I've been working 60-hour weeks to keep us afloat? How you've been lying to my face for months while your family treats me like garbage? What exactly needs explaining? She started to cry, but they looked like calculated tears, the kind she probably used in court. It just happened. We were working late and things got complicated and... Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop. Don't insult my intelligence with some story about how it just happened. You made choices. You chose to betray 20 years of marriage for what? A guy with a BMW in a corner office? It's not about money. No? Then what's it about? Love? I laughed harshly. You love a married man who's probably telling his wife the same lies you're telling me? Derek understands me. He sees my potential. He believes in me. And I don't? I put you through law school, Sam. I supported your career when you were working 100-hour weeks as a junior associate. I celebrated every promotion, every victory, every milestone. But apparently that doesn't count because I drive a pickup truck instead of a luxury car. That's not fair. Fair? I set my coffee down with enough force to slosh it onto the counter. You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been having this conversation before you decided to blow up our marriage. Fair would have been giving me a chance to fix whatever was broken, instead of running to another man. You can't fix this, Jack. We can't fix this. We've grown apart. We've grown apart because you've been growing towards someone else. I grabbed my keys from the counter. I'm going to work. When I get home tonight, I want you gone. Gone? Jack, you can't just... I can and I am. 20 years, and you threw it away for what? A few months of excitement? Congratulations, Sam. You got what you wanted. You're free to be with someone who appreciates your potential. I headed for the door, then stopped. Oh, and Sam? Tell Derek I said congratulations on the promotion. I'm sure he earned it the same way you did. I left her standing in the kitchen, surrounded by broken coffee mug pieces and the ruins of our marriage. The drive to my office gave me time to think, which was probably a mistake. My mind kept cycling between rage and heartbreak, between wanting to punch something and wanting to curl up in a corner and cry. I built my whole adult life around this woman, and she'd been planning her exit strategy for months. My office was in a converted warehouse on the industrial side of town. Nothing fancy, but functional. I had 3 employees, 2 junior engineers and a secretary, and we handled construction consulting for small to medium-sized projects. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was honest work, and it paid the bills. My secretary, Maria, took one look at my face and decided to give me space. I spent the morning trying to focus on blueprints and project timelines, but my mind kept wandering back to Samantha and Derek, the way she'd looked at me with pity last night, the way she'd defended him without even realizing it. Around noon, my sister Jessica called. "So, how was the big anniversary dinner?" she asked cheerfully. "Educational," I said, using the same word I'd texted her the night before. That doesn't sound good. What happened? I gave her the abbreviated version. The humiliating gifts, the family's attitude, and the discovery of Samantha's affair. By the time I finished, Jessica was cursing in both English and Spanish. "That witch," she said finally. "After everything you've done for her, everything you've sacrificed. It's over, Jess. 20 years, and it's over. What are you going to do?" "I don't know. Lawyer up, I guess. Try to salvage what I can from the wreckage." "You need to fight this, Jack. Don't let her walk away with everything while you get nothing." "I'm tired of fighting. I just want it to be over." "Well, I'm not tired of fighting. That family has looked down on you for years, and now they're about to find out what happens when you mess with the Reeves." Jessica owned a bar called Murphy's on the blue-collar side of town. She heard all the gossip, knew everyone's secrets, and had a network of information that would make the CIA jealous. If anyone could help me navigate this mess, it was her. "Don't do anything crazy, Jess." "Who, me?" On the soul of discretion. After we hung up, I tried to get back to work, but concentration was impossible. Every time I looked at my wedding ring, I felt sick. Every time I thought about going home to an empty house, I felt worse. Around 3 o'clock, my phone rang. Samantha. "Jack, we need to talk. I thought we said everything this morning. Please, just give me an hour. There are things you don't understand." "Like what?" "Like the fact that I never meant for this to happen. Like the fact that I still care about you, even if we can't make this work." I almost hung up, but something in her voice stopped me. Maybe it was hope. Or maybe it was just the desire to understand how 20 years could disappear so quickly. 1 hour, I said. "Murphy's Bar, 7 o'clock. "Jack, I don't think... Murphy's or nowhere, your choice." She was quiet for a moment. "Okay, 7 o'clock. I spent the rest of the afternoon alternating between dreading and anticipating the conversation. Part of me hoped she'd come to her senses, realized what she was throwing away, and wanted to fight for our marriage. The bigger part of me knew better. At 6:30, I drove to Jessica's bar. Murphy's was the kind of place where construction workers, mechanics, and other blue-collar folks came to drink beer and complain about their lives. The walls were covered with sports memorabilia and local photographs, and the jukebox played classic rock and country music. It was my kind of place, which was probably why Samantha had hesitated. Jessica was behind the bar, polishing glasses and chatting with a couple of regulars. She looked up when I walked in and gave me a sympathetic smile. "You look like hell," she said. "I feel worse than I look. What can I get you?" "Bourbon. Make it a double." She poured the drink and slid it across the bar. "She coming?" 7 o'clock. "You want me to stick around?" "No. This is something I need to do alone." At exactly 7 o'clock, Samantha walked through the door. She'd changed into jeans and a sweater, probably trying to fit in with the crowd, but she still looked out of place. Everything about her screamed money and sophistication, from her designer handbag to her perfect manicure. She slid into the booth across from me, looking uncomfortable. "This isn't exactly what I expected." "What did you expect? Dinner at Romano's? We're a little past that, don't you think?" Jessica appeared at our table with a notepad. "What can I get you?" "White wine?" Samantha asked hopefully. "We got beer, bourbon, and vodka. Pick one." "Beer, I guess?" Jessica brought her a bottle of Budweiser and disappeared, but I could feel her watching from behind the bar. "So," I said, taking a sip of bourbon. "Talk." Samantha fidgeted with her beer bottle, not drinking. "I know you hate me right now." "I don't hate you. I'm disappointed. There's a difference." "I never meant for this to happen, Jack. You have to believe that." "But it did happen. The question is, what happens now?" She was quiet for a long moment, staring at her untouched beer. "Derek wants me to leave you." "And what do you want?" "I want to not hurt you any more than I already have." "That's not an answer." She looked up at me, and for a moment I saw the woman I'd married. Vulnerable, uncertain, human. "I don't love you the way I used to, Jack. I wish I did, but I don't." The words hit me like a physical blow, even though I'd been expecting them. "When did that change?" "I don't know. Gradually, I think. We became roommates instead of lovers, business partners instead of soulmates. I felt like I was disappearing." "So you found yourself in Derek Morrison's bed?" "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" She took a shaky breath. "He made me feel alive again. Important. Like I mattered." "And I didn't?" "You made me feel safe. Comfortable. But not alive." I finished my bourbon and signaled Jessica for another. "So what now?" "You divorce me and marry him?" "He's already married, Jack." "Right. So you get to be the other woman, while I get to be the discarded husband. Sounds fair." "I know you're angry. I'm not angry, Sam. I'm heartbroken." "There's a difference." She reached across the table like she was going to touch my hand, then thought better of it. "I never wanted to hurt you." "But you did. Every lie, every secret meeting, every time you came home and pretended everything was normal. You hurt me, over and over again, and I was too stupid to see it." "You're not stupid." "No? Then what am I?" She was quiet for a long time. "You're a good man who deserves better than this." Finally, something we agree on. I stood up and threw a 20 on the table. "I'll have my lawyer contact yours. Try to make this as painless as possible, okay? We both deserve that much." "Jack, wait!" I stopped, but didn't turn around. "I'm sorry. For all of it. I really am." "I know," I said, "but sorry doesn't fix 20 years. I walked out of the bar and into the cool night air, feeling like I'd just attended my own funeral. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in my lawyer's office, listening to him explain how thoroughly screwed I was. "The house is in both names, so she's entitled to half," Tom Bradley said, shuffling through papers. "Same with your retirement accounts, savings, and business assets." "What about the fact that she committed adultery?" "Pennsylvania is a no-fault divorce state. Adultery doesn't factor into property division unless you can prove she spent marital assets on the affair." I thought about the Victoria's Secret charges, the expensive dinners I'd seen on our credit card statements, the hotel rooms that had been billed as client meetings. I might be able to prove that. Might isn't enough. You need documentation, receipts, proof of expenditure. And even then, you're looking at recovering a few $1,000s, not changing the fundamental division of assets. Tom had been my lawyer for 10 years, handling business contracts and minor legal issues. He was a good guy, but divorce wasn't his specialty, and it showed. "What about alimony?" "She makes more money than you do, so that's not a concern. But Jack, there's something else we need to discuss." The tone of his voice made me look up from the papers. "What?" "Your wife's lawyer contacted me yesterday. They're asking for temporary exclusive use of the marital home." "What does that mean?" "It means they want you to move out while the divorce is pending." I stared at him. "She cheats on me and I have to leave my own house?" "It's her house too, and they're claiming that your presence is creating a hostile environment." "Hostile environment? I've barely spoken to her since that night at Murphy's." "Apparently, your daughter is involved now." My stomach dropped. "Emily? What does she have to do with this?" Tom consulted his notes. "According to their filing, you've been sending threatening messages and making hostile comments that are affecting your daughter's emotional well-being." "That's bullshit. I haven't sent any threatening messages." "What about text messages to your wife?" I thought about the texts I'd sent over the past few weeks. Most of them had been about logistics. Who was picking up what, when I'd be home, basic household stuff. But there had been a few that were less diplomatic. I might have expressed my feelings about the situation. "Jack, I need to see your phone." I handed it over reluctantly. Tom scrolled through my text history with Samantha, his expression growing more concerned. "Hope Derek's worth throwing away 20 years, he read aloud. "Congratulations on destroying our family for a midlife crisis. Emily deserves to know what kind of mother she has." Those aren't threats. They're hostile communications. And this one about Emily is particularly problematic. I'd been angry when I sent that text. Emily had called me crying because some of her college friends had seen social media posts about the divorce. Apparently, Samantha had been portraying herself as the victim of a controlling husband, and I'd lost my temper. "They're using this to paint you as unstable," Tom continued. "Combined with the incident at Derek Morrison's office." "What incident?" "Jack, please tell me you didn't vandalize Derek Morrison's car." My silence was answer enough. "Jesus Christ, Jack. They have security footage of you keying his BMW and dumping something on the windshield." "It was fish guts from my neighbor's trash. That's destruction of property and harassment. They could file criminal charges." I slumped in my chair. "What does this mean?" "It means you need to move out of the house immediately. It means you need to stop all direct contact with your wife except through lawyers, and it means you need to pray they don't decide to press charges." This is insane. She's the one who cheated, and I'm being treated like the criminal. The system doesn't care who cheated, Jack. It cares about documentation, legal precedent, and avoiding conflict. Right now, you look like the unstable party. I left Tom's office feeling worse than I had since this whole nightmare started. Not only was I losing my wife and half my assets, but I was being portrayed as some kind of dangerous stalker. The injustice of it was overwhelming. I drove to Jessica's bar, needing alcohol and sympathy in equal measure. It was mid-afternoon, so the place was mostly empty except for a few regulars and Jessica herself. "You look like someone ran over your dog," she said as I slumped onto a bar stool. "Worse. They ran over my entire life." I told her about the lawyer meeting, the restraining order threat, and the demand that I move out of my own house. "This is unbelievable," Jessica said, pouring me a bourbon without being asked. "She cheats on you, and you're the one being punished?" Apparently, keying Derek's car was a mistake. "You keyed his car?" Jessica grinned. "I'm proud of you, big brother." "Yeah, well, my pride is going to cost me my house." "Where are you going to live?" "I don't know. Hotel, I guess, until I can find an apartment." "Screw that. You can stay in my spare room." Jessica lived in a small apartment above the bar. It wasn't much, but it was better than a hotel. "I don't want to impose." "You're not imposing. You're family. Besides, I could use the company." I was about to accept her offer when my phone rang. Emily. "Dad?" Her voice was shaky, like she'd been crying. "Hey, sweetheart. What's wrong?" "I just talked to Mom. She says you have to move out of the house." "It's complicated, Em. We're working through some things. She says you've been threatening her." I closed my eyes. "I haven't threatened anyone. Your mother and I are getting divorced, and it's been difficult for everyone." "But why? What happened? How do you tell your 18-year-old daughter that her mother is a cheating liar without sounding like a bitter ex-husband?" "Sometimes people grow apart," I said carefully. "It's not anyone's fault." "That's not what Mom says." "What does Mom say?" "She says you've been controlling and jealous and that you can't accept that she's successful now." I felt my temper rising. Even in divorce, Samantha was rewriting history to make herself the victim. "Emily, I need you to listen to me carefully. I have never tried to control your mother or hold back her career. I supported her through law school, celebrated her successes, and encouraged her ambitions. The problems in our marriage have nothing to do with her success." "Then what do they have to do with?" I was quiet for a long moment, weighing my words. "Ask your mother about Derek Morrison." "Who's Derek Morrison?" "Her law partner. The reason our marriage is over." Emily was quiet for so long I thought the call had dropped. "Emily, are you saying Mom cheated on you?" "I'm saying your mother made choices that ended our marriage. If you want details, you'll have to ask her." Oh my God. Her voice was barely a whisper. Emily, listen to me. Whatever happens between your mother and me, it doesn't change how much we both love you. You're the best thing that ever came out of our marriage, and that will never change. I have to go, she said abruptly, and hung up. I stared at my phone, knowing I'd probably just made things worse. But I was tired of being the villain in the story where I was actually the victim. Trouble? Jessica asked. Emily, Samantha's been filling her head with lies about why we're getting divorced. What kind of lies? That I'm controlling and jealous, that I can't handle her success, the usual revisionist history that cheaters tell themselves to justify their behavior. What did you tell Emily? The truth, or part of it. Jessica nodded approvingly. Good. She's 18, not 8. She deserves to know what really happened. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Derek Morrison. We need to talk. I showed the message to Jessica, who snorted with laughter. The balls on this guy. What are you going to do? Ignore it. My lawyer says I should avoid all contact. Your lawyer sounds like a pussy. Another text. I'm at Murphy's. Come alone. Jessica and I looked at each other, then toward the front door. Through the window, I could see a silver BMW parked outside. He's here, Jessica said unnecessarily. Call the police. Or you could go talk to him. Find out what he wants. Jess, I'm already in enough trouble. You're in a public place with witnesses. What's he going to do? Before I could answer, Derek Morrison walked through the front door. He was exactly what I'd expected. Tall, fit, expensively dressed, with the kind of confidence that comes from never having to worry about money. He looked around the bar with obvious distaste before his eyes settled on me. Jack Reeves? Depends who's asking. Derek Morrison. I think we need to clear the air. Jessica positioned herself behind the bar where she could reach the baseball bat she kept for difficult customers. The few other patrons in the bar had gone quiet, sensing tension. I don't think we have anything to discuss, I said. I think we do. Derek approached the bar cautiously, like he was entering hostile territory. Can I buy you a drink? I already have one. He ordered a scotch on the rocks, which Jessica served with obvious reluctance. Derek took a sip and grimaced slightly. Jessica's scotch wasn't exactly top shelf. Look, he said, I know this situation is difficult for everyone involved. Situation? I turned to face him fully. Is that what we're calling adultery now? It's more complicated than that. No, it's really not. You're married. She's married. You're sleeping together. That's adultery. Pretty simple. Derek glanced around the bar nervously. Could we discuss this privately? We can discuss it right here, or not at all. He took another sip of scotch, gathering his courage. Samantha and I didn't plan for this to happen. But it did happen, repeatedly, in hotel rooms that you charged to your business account. His face flushed. How did you know about the hotel rooms? I'm not stupid, Derek. Sloppy, maybe, but not stupid. Look, I'm not here to justify anything. I'm here because Samantha is concerned about your behavior. My behavior? The vandalism, the threatening messages, the way you've been stalking her. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Stalking her? I live in the same house, or did until your girlfriend decided to have me kicked out. She's not my girlfriend. No? Then what is she? Derek was quiet for a moment, swirling his scotch. She's someone I care about. Someone who deserves better than what she's been getting. And what has she been getting? A husband who takes her for granted, who resents her success, who makes her feel small. I felt my temper rising, but I kept my voice level. Is that what she told you? It's what I've observed. Observed? How long have you been observing my marriage, Derek? Long enough to see that she's unhappy. So you decided to help her out. How noble. Derek finished his scotch and set the glass down with deliberate care. Trying to handle this like adults, Jack. For everyone's sake. Handle what, exactly? The divorce. The transition. Making sure everyone gets what they need. What I need is for you to stay the hell away from my wife. She's not your wife anymore. Not in any way that matters. The words hit me like a physical blow. I stood up from my bar stool and Derek instinctively stepped back. Easy, he said, raising his hands. I'm not looking for trouble. No? Then what are you looking for? I want you to stop harassing Samantha. Stop the angry texts. Stop showing up at her office. Stop trying to turn Emily against her. I've never shown up at her office. You keyed my car in the parking garage. That wasn't harassment. That was artistic expression. Derek's composure finally cracked. This isn't a joke, Jack. You're making everyone's life miserable with your wounded pride and your pathetic attempts at revenge. Pathetic? I stepped closer to him, and he backed toward the door. You want to see pathetic? Pathetic is a married man seducing his business partner. Pathetic is destroying 2 families for a midlife crisis. Pathetic is coming to a bar to threaten the husband of the woman you're screwing. I'm not threatening anyone. No? Then what would you call this conversation? Derek straightened his tie and tried to regain his composure. I'm trying to give you some friendly advice. Move on with your life. Stop clinging to something that's over. Find someone who actually wants to be with you. Like you found someone who wants to be with you? Oh wait, that's right. Your wife doesn't know about Samantha yet, does she? Derek's face went pale. What's that supposed to mean? It means maybe I should pay her a visit. Compare notes about what our spouses have been up to. You stay away from my family. Or what? You'll have me arrested for harassment? Derek pulled out his phone. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. Tell them you came to a bar to threaten a man whose wife you're sleeping with. I'm sure they'll be very sympathetic. Derek hesitated, realizing how the situation would look to an outside observer. He was in a working-class bar, confronting a wronged husband, making threats about legal action. It wouldn't play well. This isn't over, he said finally. No, it's not. But Derek, next time you want to have a conversation with me, bring your wife along. I'm sure she'd be interested in hearing about your relationship with Samantha. Derek left without another word, his BMW tires squealing as he pulled out of the parking lot. Jessica whistled low. Well, that was interesting. I probably just made things worse. Maybe. But it felt good, right? I had to admit, it did feel good. For the first time in weeks, I'd stood up for myself instead of just taking whatever punishment was handed out. My phone rang. Samantha. What the hell did you say to Derek? She demanded without preamble. I told him the truth. Something you might want to try sometime. He said you threatened his family. I told him his wife might be interested in knowing about your relationship. That's not a threat. That's a public service announcement. Jack, please, don't drag innocent people into this. Innocent people? Like Emily? Like me? Like Derek's wife and kids? We're all innocent people, Sam. You and Derek are the only ones who aren't innocent. If you contact his family, I'll have you arrested. For what? Telling the truth? For harassment. For stalking. For violating the restraining order. What restraining order? The one I'm filing tomorrow morning. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, feeling like I'd just been sucker punched. What? Jessica asked, seeing my expression. She's filing a restraining order. Based on what? Based on the fact that the system is rigged against men in divorce proceedings. Jessica poured herself a shot of tequila and downed it. Okay, that's it. I've had enough of this bullshit. Jess, don't do anything stupid. Who, me? I'm just going to have a few conversations with some friends. See what they know about Derek Morrison and his business practices. What kind of conversations? The kind that might turn up some interesting information about our boy Derek. Information that might level the playing field a little. I should have told her to leave it alone. Should have taken the high road, accepted my fate, and tried to move on with my life. Instead, I poured myself another bourbon and said, what kind of information? Jessica smiled, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like maybe I wasn't completely powerless after all. Jessica's conversations turned out to be more productive than I'd expected. Within 48 hours, she'd assembled a dossier on Derek Morrison that would have impressed a private investigator. Your boy Derek has some interesting hobbies, she said, spreading papers across the bar after closing time. I looked at the documents, printouts from social media, copies of business filings, and what appeared to be financial records. How did you get all this? I know people. People who know other people. Amazing what you can find out when you ask the right questions. She pointed to a bank statement. Derek's been playing fast and loose with his business expense account. Hotel rooms, expensive dinners, jewelry purchases, all billed to the law firm as client entertainment. That's not necessarily illegal. No, but it's unethical, especially when the client entertainment involves screwing his business partner. Jessica flipped to another page. And then there's this. It was a credit report showing that Derek was heavily in debt, despite his apparent success. Credit cards maxed out, a second mortgage on his house, car payments that were 3 months behind. Golden Boy isn't so golden, I observed. Gets better. Remember that BMW he drives? It's a lease, and he's behind on payments. The Rolex, the expensive suits, the whole image, it's all financed. I studied the papers, trying to understand the implications. So he's broke? Broke and desperate, which explains why he's been so aggressive about the partnership track at his firm. He needs that promotion to keep his lifestyle afloat. What does this have to do with Samantha? Jessica grinned. Everything, because guess who's been recommended for senior partner? Guess whose success is threatening Derek's chances at the promotion he desperately needs? The pieces started falling into place. Samantha. Bingo! Your wife isn't just Derek's lover, she's his competition. And if I had to guess, I'd say the affair isn't about love, it's about control. I sat back, processing this information. He's using her. Or planning to. Think about it. If Samantha gets divorced, loses focus on work, maybe makes some professional mistakes because she's distracted by personal drama, her chances for senior partner go down. And Derek's go up. Plus, he gets to play the supportive colleague who helped her through a difficult time. Very noble, very professional. I felt sick. Bad enough that my wife had cheated on me, but the idea that she was being manipulated by someone she trusted made it worse. Does she know? About Derek's financial problems? I doubt it. Men like Derek are very good at maintaining appearances. I studied Derek's credit report again. This gives us leverage. Maybe. But you have to be careful how you use it. If Derek finds out you've been digging into his finances, he could claim harassment. What about his wife? She should know what kind of man she's married to. Jessica nodded toward another stack of papers. Carol Morrison, 38, works part-time as a real estate agent. 2 kids in private school. From what I can tell, she has no idea about the affair or the financial problems. How do you know that? Because she just posted on Facebook about their upcoming anniversary trip to Europe. Hard to plan expensive vacations when you don't know you're broke. I looked at Carol Morrison's Facebook photos. A pretty woman with 2 young children, smiling in front of their suburban house, posting about school events and family activities. She looked happy, oblivious to the fact that her husband was destroying her life, just like he'd destroyed mine. She deserves to know, I said. Maybe, but if you contact her directly, Samantha will use it as evidence that you're harassing Derek's family. So what do you suggest? Jessica was quiet for a moment, thinking. What if the information came from someone else? Someone with no connection to you or the divorce? Like who? Like an anonymous tip to her real estate firm about Derek's financial problems. Real estate agents have to be careful about their professional associations. If Carol finds out her husband is in serious debt, she might start asking questions. It was manipulative and underhanded. But then again, so was adultery. Do it, I said. Jessica made the call the next morning while I was packing my belongings from the house. The restraining order had been approved, giving me exactly 2 hours to collect my personal items under police supervision. It was humiliating, being escorted through my own home like a criminal while my wife watched from the kitchen doorway. Just the essentials, the officer said, as I filled boxes with clothes, tools, and personal documents. I wanted to take family photos, but most of them included Samantha, and I wasn't sure I could stand looking at them. Instead, I grabbed a few pictures of Emily and left the rest. Samantha didn't speak to me during the entire process, but I could feel her watching. When I carried the last box to my truck, she finally approached. "Jack," she said quietly. I ignored her, loading the box into the truck bed. "Jack, please. I know you hate me, but we need to figure out how to handle this civilly." I turned to face her. She looked tired, older somehow, like the stress of the situation was taking its toll. "Civilly?" I said. "You mean like the way you civilly destroyed our marriage? Or the way you civilly had me thrown out of my own house? I didn't want it to be like this." "Then you shouldn't have screwed your business partner." The police officer cleared his throat. "Ma'am, sir, Let's keep this professional. I climbed into my truck and drove away without looking back. Jessica's apartment above the bar was small but clean, with a spare bedroom that barely fit a single bed and a dresser. It wasn't much, but it was better than a hotel, and Jessica's company was a welcome distraction from my problems. "How did it go?" she asked when I arrived with my boxes. "About as well as you'd expect. I'm officially homeless." "You're not homeless. You're between houses." I appreciated her optimism, but the reality was that I'd lost everything. My wife, my home, my sense of identity. At 45 years old, I was starting over with nothing but some clothes and a failing business. My phone rang. Tom Bradley, my lawyer. "Jack, we need to talk. Can you come to my office?" "What's wrong now?" "Just come in. We'll discuss it in person." An hour later, I was sitting across from Tom, listening to more bad news. "Derek Morrison filed a counter-complaint," he said, sliding papers across his desk. "A what?" "He's claiming that you've been harassing him and his family. Vandalism, threatening behavior, intimidation." I scanned the document, my anger rising with each line. According to Derek's version of events, I was a dangerous stalker who had threatened his wife and children, damaged his property, and created a hostile work environment for Samantha. This is bullshit. Maybe, but it's bullshit with documentation. Security footage of you keying his car. Witnesses to your confrontation at the bar. Records of your text messages to Samantha. What about the affair? What about the fact that he's been sleeping with my wife? Adultery isn't illegal, Jack. Harassment is. I slumped in my chair, feeling the walls closing in. So what happens now? Now you have to respond to his complaint, and you have to be very, very careful about any contact with Derek or his family. What if someone else contacted his family? Someone with no connection to me? Tom gave me a sharp look. What do you mean? Hypothetically, what if someone else, a concerned citizen maybe, shared information about Derek's character with his wife? Jack, if you're planning what I think you're planning, don't. Any contact with Derek's family, direct or indirect, will be seen as harassment. Even if the information is true? Even if it's true. The court doesn't care about truth when it comes to restraining orders. It cares about behavior patterns and potential threats. I left Tom's office feeling more frustrated than ever. The system was protecting the guilty and punishing the victim, and there was nothing I could do about it within the bounds of the law. When I got back to Jessica's bar, she was grinning like she'd won the lottery. "You look happy," I observed. "I am." Carol Morrison just called Derek's office, demanding to speak with him immediately. "How do you know?" "Because my friend Maria works as a temp at their law firm." She heard the whole thing. Jessica poured herself a beer and settled in to tell the story. Apparently, Carol got a call from someone at her real estate firm asking about Derek's financial stability. Seems there were some questions about his ability to co-sign on a client's mortgage application. Questions about what? His credit rating, his debt-to-income ratio, his recent history of missed payments. I felt a grim satisfaction. What did Carol do? She pulled their credit report, found out about the maxed-out credit cards, the second mortgage, the car payments he's been hiding from her. And she called Derek's office, screaming about financial infidelity and demanding explanations. Maria says you could hear her through the phone from across the room. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. It wasn't much, but it was something. What did Derek do? Left work early, claimed he had a family emergency. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Stop playing games. You're going to regret this." I showed the message to Jessica, who laughed. "Looks like Derek's having a bad day. He's threatening me. He's scared. There's a difference." Another text. "I know it was you. This isn't over." I screenshot the messages and forwarded them to Tom Bradley with a note. "Derek Morrison is now threatening me via text. Please add to case file." "What are you doing?" Jessica asked. "Playing by their rules. They want to document everything? Fine. I'll document everything too." My phone rang. Samantha. "What did you do?" she demanded. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Derek's wife knows about us. Someone told her about the affair." "That's terrible. How did that happen?" "Don't play dumb, Jack. I know this was you." "Actually, it wasn't, but I'm glad someone finally told her the truth." "Derek thinks you hired a private investigator." Derek thinks a lot of things. Most of them are wrong. His marriage is falling apart because of this. His marriage is falling apart because he's a cheating liar. Same reason ours fell apart. You're destroying innocent people's lives. No, Sam. You and Derek destroyed innocent people's lives. I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth. She hung up, but not before I heard Derek's voice in the background, angry and panicked. This is getting interesting, Jessica observed. It's getting dangerous. Derek's desperate now, and desperate people do stupid things. What kind of stupid things? Before I could answer, my phone rang again. This time it was Emily. Dad, I need to talk to you. What's wrong, sweetheart? Can you meet me somewhere? I don't want to do this over the phone. Of course. Where? There's a coffee shop near campus. Brewster's. Can you drive up here? It was a 2-hour drive to Penn State, but I would have driven twice that to talk to my daughter. I'll be there in 2 hours. Dad? I'm sorry I believed Mom's version of things. I know the truth now. What truth? About Derek. About the affair. About everything. After she hung up, I felt a mixture of relief and sadness. Relief that Emily finally knew the truth. Sadness that she had to learn it at all. Road trip? Jessica asked. Emily wants to talk. That's good. She needs to hear your side of the story. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. If Derek calls or shows up here, don't engage with him. Just call the police. What if he threatens me? Then call me, and I'll drive back here and finish what we started at the bar. Jessica grinned. Now you're talking. The drive to Penn State gave me time to think about what I wanted to say to Emily. How do you explain to your daughter that her mother is a cheating liar without sounding bitter? How do you help her understand that sometimes good people make terrible choices? By the time I reached Brewster's Coffee, I still didn't have answers. But I had something more important. The truth. And after weeks of lies and manipulation, the truth felt like a weapon I was finally ready to use. Emily was waiting in a corner booth, looking older than her 18 years. When she saw me, she started crying. Dad, I'm so sorry. I slid into the booth and took her hands. You have nothing to be sorry for, sweetheart. I believed her. I thought you were the problem. Your mother is very convincing when she wants to be. She lied to me. About everything. Tell me what you know. Emily wiped her eyes and took a shaky breath. Derek's wife called me, Carol Morrison. She found my number in Derek's phone and wanted to know if I knew about the affair. I felt a chill. What did you tell her? I told her the truth, that I just found out about it myself, that Mom had been lying to everyone. What else did she say? She said Derek had been lying about everything, the money, the business trips, all of it. She said she was going to destroy him. This was escalating beyond anything I'd anticipated. Carol Morrison wasn't just angry, she was out for blood. Emily, I need you to stay out of this. Don't take any more calls from Carol. Don't get involved in the drama between your mother and Derek. But Dad, you should hear what she found out about Derek. He's been stealing money from the law firm, using client accounts for personal expenses. I sat back, processing this information. If Derek had been embezzling from client accounts, that was a criminal matter, not just a civil one. How does she know that? She has access to his computer, his files. She's been going through everything since she found out about the affair. Emily, this is serious. If Derek's been stealing money, he could go to prison. Good. He deserves it for what he did to you and Mom. What he did to your mother and me is between us. But if he's been stealing from clients, that affects innocent people. My phone buzzed with another text from Derek. Call off your dogs or you'll regret it. I showed the message to Emily, who read it with disgust. He's threatening you? He's scared. His life is falling apart, and he's looking for someone to blame. What are you going to do? I looked at my daughter, smart, beautiful, innocent despite everything she'd learned in the past few weeks, and made a decision. I'm going to end this, once and for all. How? By making sure everyone knows exactly who Derek Morrison really is. Emily smiled for the first time since I'd arrived. Can I help? Absolutely not. You're going to stay here, focus on school, and let the adults handle this mess. But Dad, no buts. Promise me you'll stay out of it. She promised reluctantly, and I drove back to Jessica's bar with a new sense of purpose. Derek Morrison had made the mistake of threatening me and involving my daughter in his schemes. Now he was going to learn what happened when you pushed a man who had nothing left to lose. Jessica was waiting with more intelligence when I arrived. Carol Morrison is thorough, she said, spreading new documents across the bar. She's been busy since this morning. The papers showed bank records, client billing statements, and what appeared to be evidence of systematic embezzlement going back 2 years. Where did she get all this? Derek apparently kept copies of everything on his home computer. Carol's been printing files all day. I studied the documents, seeing a pattern of theft that was both brazen and sophisticated. Derek had been skimming money from client accounts, billing personal expenses to the firm, and using his position to hide the evidence. This is enough to destroy him, I said. It's enough to put him in prison. What's Carol planning to do with it? That's the interesting part. She called me an hour ago. I looked up from the papers. She called you? How did she get your number? From Derek's phone. Apparently, he's been keeping tabs on you, and my number came up in his research. What did she want? To meet with you. She thinks you two should coordinate your efforts. I considered this. Carol Morrison was a wild card. Angry, hurt, and apparently willing to go to extreme lengths for revenge. Allying with her could be helpful, but it could also be dangerous. What did you tell her? That I'd pass along the message. She's waiting for your call. I looked at Carol's number, written on a napkin in Jessica's handwriting. One phone call could change everything, for better or worse. What do you think? I asked Jessica. I think Derek Morrison made the mistake of screwing over 2 people who have nothing left to lose, and I think he's about to find out what that feels like. I picked up my phone and dialed Carol's number. It was time to turn the tables on Derek Morrison and everyone who had helped him destroy my life. The phone rang twice before Carol answered. Jack Reeves? That's right. I understand you want to talk. I want to do more than talk. I want to destroy the bastard who ruined both our lives. I'm listening. Good. Because I have a plan, and I think you're going to like it. 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 You're going to like it.